Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today is Saturday, so we're going to be doing the starts and sits for the 30 remaining teams. So once again, I'm going to be going through every player, pretty much every relevant player, letting you guys know if I will start or sit them. If you have any specific questions regarding starts and sits, please leave them down in the comments below. Just say, should I start player A or player B? Should I start one out of these three, two out of these three, two out of this four? And please leave scoring format as well. It just helps out a little bit as well. I may ask some other questions too, just based on the rest of your lineup, based on your matchup. There are a lot of variables that actually go into these decisions. So we're going to start off with the Washington football team. So we got Taylor Heineke. I think he's a streamable quarterback this week. He didn't make my top 12 in my rankings, but if you're really hurting at the quarterback position, you could definitely do a lot worse. I do like him quite a bit for DFS though. Antonio Gibson, he is banged up right now, so he's got that shoulder injury he's been dealing with for a couple weeks. Now he's got a kind of a phantom shin injury that came up too. Limited in practice one day, didn't practice a different day. We'll see if he actually ends up playing or not. I'm a little hesitant with him. It is a decent matchup against Atlanta though. I guess if he plays, you can play him. If he doesn't, obviously you're going to set him. J.D. McKissick, he's going to be a sit. If Antonio Gibson does not play, it looks like him and Jaret Patterson would split the work. With McKissick being more involved in the passing game, you could take a look at him there in that situation if you need to. Terry McLaurin is a start. Dyami Brown, he's been the wide receiver too. Curtis Samuel is going to be back for this game coming off the IR now. So Dyami Brown was a sit for me already. Still going to be a sit. Adam Humphries still a sit as well. Curtis Samuel, we want to sit until we kind of see it from him. We don't know how involved he's going to be in this game overall. So can't get too excited about him yet, but maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, he's a guy that we could be playing in the future. So we got Logan Thomas. He's a start for me. He might lose a little bit of volume just with Curtis Samuel being back. It's going to affect probably him and J.D. McKissick the most, maybe a little bit of Adam Humphries as well, but he's still a start at this point. Still a very good matchup for him against this Atlanta football team. Then we got the Washington defense. I do like them quite a bit this week. You can start them. And then once again, I'm not mentioning kickers unless there's a major change. Then on the Falcons side of the ball, we got Matt Ryan. He's a streamable quarterback this week. The Washington defense has not been very good against the pass so far this year. Their pass rush just hasn't been getting home, but he's not a guy that I'm going out of my way to start. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, you can definitely go ahead and start him there. Maybe if you want to play him in DFS like we talked about yesterday, you could do it there as well. But in a regular 10, 12-team quarterback league, he's not really somebody I'm excited for this week. Mike Davis, yeah, he's a low-end running back too. Flex play if you need to go there. Not super excited about him myself. Cordell Patterson, he's the guy that you can play in a pinch, play in the flex, play in the low-end running back too if you need to do so. He's been out there getting the volume, getting the work, so he's in play, honestly. And I'm kind of surprised that I even have to say that at this point, just based on the path of his career, but he is somebody that's actually viable at this point in time. Calvin Ridley is going to be a start. Kyle Pitts is a start. Hayden Hurst is a sit. Falcons defense, you could maybe stream, but there are better options out there. Then we got the Texans, and apparently I did not change Tyrod Taylor, so that's supposed to be Davis Mills. He's going to be a sit anyways. Essentially, just to do the Texans real quick, the only person I'm looking at playing is Brandon Cooks. He's going to be a start. Everybody else is going to be a sit. Anthony Miller, I do like in DFS, though, because it looks like Teron Johnson is going to be out for the Bills. Anthony Miller could be a sneaky play there on DraftKings. I think he's $3,500 or $3,700. Can't remember quite off the top of my head, but with that backup slot guy being in there, Anthony Miller probably the number 2 target getter on this Texans team this week. He could have a little bit of value there, but otherwise, just Brandon Cooks. And I guess with the Texans too, we'll mention that Kaimi Fairbairn is going to be back for this game. Being the Texans fan that I am not a fan of Kaimi Fairbairn in general, so I wouldn't recommend him anyways. So that's pretty easy. Then for the Buffalo Bills, we got Josh Allen. He's going to be a start. Very good matchup. Zach Moss also a start. Devin Singletary, I mean, if you're in a real pinch, you can play him, but I'm not super excited about him. I'm probably going to sit him in most situations. Stephon Diggs is going to be a start. Emmanuel Sanders start. Cole Beasley start. Those 3 guys just roll them out there. Texans defense is going to have a hard time containing these 3 wide receivers. Gabriel Davis, he's going to be a sit. Just hasn't been playing as many snaps this year, so there's no way we can trust him. I see a lot of people talking about Dawson Knox in this game. I am not starting Dawson Knox in this game. He's going to be a sit for me. He's just super, super volatile. I know the tight end position as a whole is too, but I think there's a lot better options out there than him in general. Bills defense, you can obviously start against rookie quarterback Davis Mills. Then we go over to the Lions. So Jared Goff, he's going to be a sit for me this week. Bears defense is hit or miss, honestly, really is. But Jared Goff, we saw what he was last week, and it was just not good. There's no way you could play him in fantasy. Jamal Williams, I think you could play as a flex play if in a pinch if you need to do so. DeAndre Swift must start this guy. If you're sitting DeAndre Swift any point in this season and he's not injured and he's not playing, you don't deserve DeAndre Swift. It's simply put at that. You do not deserve this guy. And there's people getting him in the 4th, 5th round. It's insane the value that this kid is going to pay off for a lot of fantasy teams. For the wide receivers, not really interested in any of them. I'm on St. Brown in that slot role. Quintez Cephas, Khalif Raymond both playing the majority of the snaps on the outside. First 2 weeks we saw Cephas have 7 targets apiece. Last week it was Khalif Raymond with 10 and Cephas with only 1. So not a lot of predictability there. Not anybody I'm rushing out to start. TJ Hawkinson's the start as always. It was a rough week for him last week. We'll put that out there, but it's a good matchup against the Bears for him this week. The Lions defense in a pinch you could actually start. I think they're about middle of the pack this week. So if you really, really need a streaming defense, you could check them out. Justin Fields is in there in his second career start. He didn't look too good week 1. Play calling was not very good. Offensive line was not very good. There's a lot of factors in there. The one thing the Lions have done so far on defense this year is get sacks. And if you can do that, you're going to get fantasy points. So they're definitely in play, especially in DFS sites too, because they're super cheap there. But they do get sacks, and the Bears offensive line has not been very good. Then for the Chicago Bears, got Justin Fields or Andy Dalton. Supposedly it's a game time decision right up to game time. And like I said on the point after last night, this is just Matt Nagy saying, we're waiting to see what Andy Dalton is. If Andy Dalton's healthy enough to play, he's going to be the starter. If he's not, Justin Fields is going to be the starter. It's simply put at that at this point in time. So not excited about either of these guys. We don't even know who's going to start. I would not start either of them anyway, so they're both going to be sits for me. David Montgomery, you can start him. Hopefully they get this offense rolling a little bit more. He's looked great this year. The offense in general is just terrible. But David Montgomery, he's a stud. Then we have Allen Robinson. I know a lot of people are like, should I bench Allen Robinson this week? And you get these guys that start off slow every year. I think this is a great game for Allen Robinson, kind of get-right game. Even if the rest of the offense isn't too good, he's still going to be pretty involved in this game. Darnell Mooney, he's going to be a sit. He's been involved in the offense. He's been Justin Fields' favorite target even, but it's just not quite there at this point. Then we got Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham. They're both going to be sits. Not trusting either one of them. The Bears defense you can stream as well this week. Then we got the Panthers. So we got Sam Darnold against the Cowboys. The Cowboys, you think of them of having not this great a defense. Sam Darnold you could stream in a pinch, but the fact that Christian McCaffrey is not out there this week, there's no way I'm playing Sam Darnold without Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey obviously is out, so he's going to be a sit. Then you got Chuba Hubbard, you got Royce Freeman, and now they did call Ronnie Anderson up from the practice squad as well. He played well in limited time last year too. So there's 3 guys there. They could be splitting work. Not excited about Chuba Hubbard this week. It is a decent matchup, though. But the bad part is the Cowboys haven't allowed a rushing touchdown this year. So the volume might be there. The production might be there. But the touchdown scoring might not be there. And he's probably not going to get as much passing work out of the backfield as Christian McCaffrey did. I assume Royce Freeman kind of gets the third down work. He did it in Denver, so there's a chance that he does it in Carolina as well. DJ Moore, he's going to be a start for me. I'm not super excited about him in DFS just based on the matchup, but in regular fantasy football, he should pay off enough to be worth at least one of the 3 starting wide receivers on your team. Robbie Anderson, he's kind of on the borderline for me this week, honestly. You can start him if you need to. If you got a better option, just roll with your better option. Terrace Marshall Jr., same thing there. I think this could be a very good week for him, but I'm still tempering my expectations. The Panthers tight ends, we got Ian Thomas and just Tommy Tremble now. Tommy Tremble looked good last week on Thursday Night Football. He's still not playing a lot. I want to see how this all shakes out with Dan Arnold gone before I recommend sitting either one of them, so they're both sits this week. Panthers defense, yes, they played exceptionally well this year. Really haven't played a lot of offensive firepower teams, so going against the Cowboys, a very good offense, you're not going to want to start them. Then on the Cowboys side of the game, we got Dak Prescott. He's going to be a start. Pretty easy, simple, pretty easy there. Ezekiel Elliott. People are acting like this is a bad game, and it is based on the statistics for the Carolina Panthers defense have not allowed a lot of rushing yards. Still play Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard, I guess you can play in a pinch, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, starting both of them, no questions asked, especially, with J.C. Horn being missing in that secondary unit for the Carolina Panthers. Then we got Cedric Wilson. He's going to be a sit. Dalton Schultz, you can play in a pinch as a streaming tight end if you need to do so. It's not the best matchup in the world, but it's not the worst matchup either. Blake Jarwin's going to be a sit. Cowboys defense, you could play in a pinch if you really, really needed to. I like them a lot better for DFS purposes because Panthers offensive line is not the best. If they get in after Sam Darnold, if they get him to make some mistakes, could be a very good day there. But for regular fantasy football, probably more of a sit. Then we get moved over to the Colts. We got Carson Wentz once again. He's going to be set for me. Still playing on 2 bum ankles. Not really going to trust him there. Jonathan Taylor been banged up with a knee this week. If he plays, you start him. If he doesn't play, you sit him. If he doesn't play, it gets super, super interesting because Marlon Mack and the team have agreed to mutually seek a trade, essentially. So are they going to play him if Jonathan Taylor can't go? Very good question. I don't have that answer. We'll have to see. Otherwise, it could be Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines splitting carries. Nyheim Hines, I do like in this matchup regardless. Low-end running back 2, flex play regardless of whether or not Jonathan Taylor plays or not. Then we got Michael Pittman Jr. He's been the best wide receiver on this team so far this year, but he's probably my least favorite option of their 3 wide receivers this week. Going against Xavier Howard, a very, very good corner. So he's a sit. Zach Pascal, you could probably play in a pinch. Dolphins have struggled against slot wide receivers since Brian Flores has taken over, probably even before that, but just since they've had this defense that they've been playing now. So that could benefit Zach Pascal, but still probably a guy that I'm playing more of in a pinch than anything. Paris Campbell, I love him for DFS. For redraft purposes, not enough there to trust starting him. Colts tight ends, Jack Doyle's been banged up this week with a back injury. We'll see if he plays or not. I'm going to be setting all these Colts tight ends regardless. I know everybody loves Mo. Cox kind of got down that road a little bit the other day, but I just don't get excited about him. If he doesn't score a touchdown, I don't think he's really going to pay off. Colts defense, you could play in this matchup. They haven't had the best start to the season, but playing against Jacoby Brissett, a backup quarterback with the poor offensive line, not too much of a running game so far this season, could be a good matchup. Then for the Dolphins, we got Jacoby Brissett. And if you're in a 2-quarterback league, I feel comfortable throwing Jacoby Brissett in. For DFS, I feel comfortable. But if you're in a 10-team, a 12-team league with 1 quarterback, I would not feel comfortable with him in that setting. So we got Myles Gaskin, running back 2. Hopefully he gets a little bit more involved this week, especially in that pass-catching department. Jacoby Brissett, when he was the starter for the Colts, he dumped off to the running back position a ton. So I was kind of expecting more of that once again. Hasn't quite happened yet. Jalen Waddle, I think you can start. I think it's a rough matchup for him, though, against Kenny Moore in the slot. But if he's getting the volume he's been getting, he's definitely somebody that fills in as a wide receiver 3 for the week. Devontae Parker, he's going to be a boom bust in this one, honestly. The outside corners for the Colts, it's going to be Xavier Rhodes coming off a hamstring injury that played last week but didn't play the best. And then Isaiah Rodgers, who's more of a kick returner than actually a corner. So Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, they're both in play this week. I do prefer Will Fuller myself, though. Then Mike Gesicki, the tight end. We've seen him have a crazy week last week. Hopefully, if you own Mike Gesicki, you just sold him off for good value last week. If you didn't, I guess you can play him out there in this matchup. It should be a decent one for him as well. Dolphins defense you can play as well since the Colts offensive line's banged up. Carson Wentz is playing on 2 bum ankles. There's no reason you can't play the Dolphins defense in this one. Then we move over to the Browns. Baker Mayfield, I think he's going to be started. I think this game's going to be it's going to be more of a high scoring game. I think in a pinch, if you need to stream somebody, if you don't have a top end quarterback, you can play Baker Mayfield. 2 quarterback leagues, he's definitely in there for sure. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, I think you can start both of them in this matchup. Not too much to say there, really. Most weeks you're going to be able to start both of them. Odell Beckham Jr., start him up. Looked decent enough last week to have faith in him this week. Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, Demetric Felton, whoever else you want to name at wide receiver. Not really interested in starting any of them. I think Higgins could be kind of the sneaky one. But he didn't make my DFS list because he's already priced up. So that's kind of the end of that. It was important to note that he did play a lot of the slot snaps last week. Austin Hooper, David Njoku. You're just playing roulette with these guys. Just praying you get the right one on any given week. So it's not anything I'm chasing at this point in time. Browns defense is going to be a sit because, that Vikings offense has looked pretty good this year. Then on the opposite side of the ball, we got Kirk Cousins. I think you can start him once again. He's been very, very good to start the season. Dalvin Cook, if he plays, you play him. If he doesn't, you play Alexander Madison. Pretty simple as that. Justin Jefferson's a start. Adam Thielen is a very, very good start. I like his matchup quite a bit this week. Talked about it a little bit, I believe, in my DFS and as well on the point after last night. Then KJ Osborne, he's going to be a set for me. We just want to see him get some of his workload back this week. Some of it did go to Tyler Conklin last week. Not super excited about Tyler Conklin. I mean, in a pinch, you can stream him if you really want to. Otherwise, I'm not touching him. Then the Vikings defense is a sit. For the Giants, we got Daniel Jones. He's going to be a sit, missing, quite a few of his weapons in general. Saquon Barkley is a start. Kenny Golladay is a start because he's the biggest name wide receiver they got left, so they're probably going to have to throw him the ball quite a bit. Colin Johnson had a nice week last week. Not anybody I'm counting on in redraft leagues, but in DFS, maybe you can throw him out there as a flyer. Same thing with Kadarius Toney, probably not somebody you want to trust in redraft. John Ross was just activated off the IR today too, so they got a little bit of speed element on this team, I guess. It'd be really interesting to see which one of those three pay off, if any, in this matchup. Evan Ingram, I think, is a fine streamable tight end this week. He did make my waiver wire article, so you can play him, especially with these wide receivers missing. Then the Giants defense, you could play them in a pinch. I think they're my number 11 defense for the week. So, Jameis Winston, he's been known to make some turnovers. If that happens, there is some points to go around. And, the Saints are playing without left tackle Teron Armstead as well. So there is a little bit of opportunity there for the Giants team. It is important to note they lost their leader on defense in Blake Martinez. Then for the Saints, we got Jameis Winston. He's going to be a sit. Alvin Kamara is a start. Pretty simple there. Tony Jones Jr., he is not playing enough, not involved enough to do anything, so he's a sit. He's almost to the point where I just want to take him off this list because he's just not there. Marquez Callaway, you could play in a pinch, but I'm really not counting on it this week. Jawan Johnson, Adam Troutman, not really excited about them. And then the Saints defense, I think you can play them. You can start them and feel pretty comfortable as well. Then we move over to the Titans. So we got Ryan Tannehill. He was actually my Fool's Goal of the Week. He's sit of the week for the Gold Jacket podcast this week. So he's not a guy I'm excited about playing without his top two wide receivers. In a positive game script, they're probably not going to have to throw the ball a ton either. Derrick Henry. If you're not starting Derrick Henry, you're doing something wrong this week. Great matchup. No wide receivers. Pretty much everything you could ask for to line up for Derrick Henry. I'm going to talk about the wide receivers, and we're going to start with last week's guy, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who I guarantee 99% of people had no idea who the heck this guy was until last week. He is a second-year undrafted free agent from the University of Indiana. Did not have a prolific college career, does not have great measurables, played 78% of the snaps, lucked into a touchdown against a linebacker in coverage. So he's not worth it. If you're out there, if you're playing him in a league, if you're playing him in DFS, you're just making a mistake. You're just asking yourself to be punished. He comes in as my wide receiver, I think 83, 86 on the week. So he's nobody I'm interested in at all. If I had to play one of these wide receivers, it's probably going to be Josh Reynolds. He's got the past experience. He was only inactive the last week because he does not play special teams. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and Racey McMath are both wide receivers who do play special teams. So in a pinch, they can throw those guys in at wide receivers, but they're really just on the field for their special teams abilities. Chester Rogers, interesting playing the slot, but I'm not really excited about any of these wide receivers. They're all going to be sits for me. If I'm playing in DFS, though, Josh Reynolds is a guy I'm targeting. For the Titans tight ends, Anthony Firkser is back this week. Not interested in him or Jeff Swaim or McCole Pruitt or whoever else because it's just not there. I just don't trust it. And until we really see something emerge from that group, it's not anything worth counting on. Then for the Titans defense, they are a streamable defense this week. You can start them if you need a defense. Otherwise, if you don't, just kind of pass up on them. Then for the Jets, we're still sitting Zach Wilson. It's been a rough start for him. Losing Mekhi Becton right away in the season was nothing anybody expected, and obviously not something that was good for a young rookie quarterback losing his, cornerstone left tackle. The Jets running backs not interested in starting any of them this week. Still a little bit of messing backfield. I assume Michael Carter is going to take over sooner rather than later, but until we see that, not trusting starting him. Corey Davis, you can start. Titans aren't the best in coverage in general, so it could be a good matchup for him, and that revenge game narrative if you're into that type of thing. Jamison Crowder looks like he'll be back this week. See how much he's out on the field. Not anybody I'm rushing out to start week one in his return. And then Braxton Berrios, if Crowder's back, then Berrios probably kind of takes a little bit of a back seat there. So it's kind of something interesting, something to note. Elijah Moore and Jeff Smith are both missing in this game. Keelan Cole looks probably like he's going to be the other starter on the outside. You could take a flyer in DFS there, but nothing you want to play in redraft. Tyler Kroft's a sit. Jets defense is also a sit this week. Then for the Chiefs, pretty plain and simple. We got our four guys once again. Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. Start all four of them. You can probably start the Chiefs defense too, the way the offensive line is banged up for the Philadelphia Eagles. McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle. One of them might have a nice game. Predicting who it's going to be is finding a needle in a haystack, so we're going to be setting all three of those guys. Then for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, you can still start in this matchup. You've seen last week, even when everything was stacked up against him, he still put up a relatively decent fantasy football performance. Miles Sanders, last week was hard to swallow, but a lot of it was due to negative game script, penalties, getting behind, second and long, third and long. So there's a chance for him, low end running back 2, flex play. Kenny Gainwell, you could maybe roll him out in a pinch. This is probably going to be a game that they're trailing. He might get some passing down work, but he's not anybody I'm counting on, going out of my way to count on at least. Devonta Smith, I think you could start him. He's kind of like that wide receiver 3 flex range for me this week. He could pay off, but there is a chance that he doesn't as well. He's still a rookie. You still have to temper expectations. Not every rookie is going to come out and set the world on fire either. Jalen Reagor, he's going to be a set for me. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. I think you'll probably start both these tight ends this week. Negative game script. They both should be on the field quite a bit. And then the Eagles' defense is obviously a sit against the Kansas City Chiefs. I would not recommend starting any defense against the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe unless you're Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. But that's about it. Then we move over to the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray's a start, pretty simple there. Chase Edmonds should be a start as well. This should be a high-scoring game, so he should be pretty involved. James Conner is going to be a sit this week. DeAndre Hopkins, this is a tricky one because he's been dealing with this rib injury. Wasn't the best last week. Goes probably against Jalen Ramsey in coverage this week. So it could be a tough matchup for him. I'm still comfortable rolling him out there unless you have, like 3 wide receivers you feel way more comfortable with this week, which is probably unlikely at this point. I mean, unless you drafted like Cooper Kupp, Mike Williams, and then a stud wide receiver ahead of those two, then maybe you can do that. But most people don't have that luxury or that situation. Then we got AJ Green. He's still going to be a set for me. He's looked all right the past couple of weeks, so there's a chance out there. You could throw him in a pinch if you really need to. Rondale Moore is going to be a sit for me. I think he'll be on the field more, but until we see a little bit more consistency from him, I'm not going to start him. He's not anybody you should drop. Please do not drop Rondale Moore because he could be a league winner down the stretch for sure. And then Christian Kirk, he's a guy that I do like starting this week. And I think with Jalen Ramsey focusing more on Hopkins, Christian Kirk's going to be, he's going to get some of the lesser cornerbacks in coverage. So that's definitely going to help him out. Then we got Max Williams. He's going to be a set as well. Cardinals defense is a set going against a pretty good Rams offense. Then for the Rams, we got Matt Stafford. Start him up. Pretty simple there. Darrell Henderson looks like he's going to play. Back end running back 2 flex play for me this week. If you have better options, just roll with your better options this week. Let Henderson kind of roll out and just make sure he's healthy first of all. Sony Michel's going to be a sit. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods start both of them. Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson, you're going to sit both of them. Deshaun Jackson, pump play of the week though last week in DFS, paid off big time. Then Tyler Higbee, I think you can start him up. The Cardinals defense has been better against the tight ends this year. So just temper your expectations a little bit, but a back end tight end 1 for me this week. Rams defense, they're going to be a sit going against a pretty high powered offense as well. For the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson's going to be a start. Pretty simple there. Chris Carson's a start. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett are both starts. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, both a little bit banged up, but expected to play. If one of them would miss, then I would consider starting Freddie Swain. I really would. But in the case that we're in right now, Freddie Swain is a sit. Gerald Everett's kind of had a weird week. He was like on the COVID list and then supposedly off it. We'll see if he plays or not. If he doesn't play, Will Disley looks better. If Everett does play, then I'm just sitting both of them. Pretty simple there. Seahawks defense, kind of a middle pack defense for me this week. Not anybody I'm like targeting heavily at all. Then the 49ers. So Jimmy Garoppolo is a strong quarterback 2 option for me this week, but in 10-team, 12-team leagues, not excited about him. So he'd be a sit in those type of situations. Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell. I'm sitting both of them this week. I think Elijah Mitchell does end up playing. Even though he's still got that shoulder injury, I think they'll just shoot him up in the shoulder. He'll feel fine, and he'll be all right to go. But with that being said, even if he doesn't play, I'm still not super excited about Trey Sermon. I know a lot of people do love this matchup because Seattle has not been the greatest against running backs so far this year. Part of that skewed based on Derrick Henry's big game in week 2 and the fact that they've given up 6 catches to running backs in general. Plus the Colts running backs paired up together in Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor, but they did hold Jonathan Taylor pretty intact on the ground. Brandon Ayuk is one of my favorite plays this week, so he's going to be a start pretty much every league. If you got Brandon Ayuk, start him unless you have clear better options at this point in time. Deebo Samuel, I am actually comfortable starting this week, which I don't say too often about Deebo. I think it's going to be a negative game script for the 49ers. They're going to have to throw the ball. It's going to benefit Brandon Ayuk a ton and benefit Deebo Samuel some too as well. George Kittle dealing with a calf injury. If he misses, he's going to be a sit, obviously. If he plays, you just play him. If he doesn't play, I'm not super excited about Ross Dwelley, Charlie Warner, any of those guys. they're still going to be sits for me. 49ers defense going against that high-powered Seahawks offense. Not excited about them, so they are a sit as well. Then for the Baltimore Ravens, we got Lamar Jackson. Everybody's freaking out about him. He's got a back injury. He missed 2 days of practice, but guess what? He was full participant in practice yesterday, so he should be good to go. I'm going to start him regardless. Tyson Williams, Latavius Murray, Devonta Foreman, and now Le'Veon Bell called up from the practice squad. Not starting any of these guys, plain and simple. We've got to see how the situation works itself out. Marquise Brown, I think you can play if you need to. Wide receiver 3, flex play type of guy. Sammy Watkins as a set. It is noteworthy that Rashad Bateman and Miles Boykin were both designated to return from IR. Do not know if either one of them have been activated at this point in time, but if they are, I'll leave a note down below. And that could change up some things potentially a little bit, but there's so many people out there in the community that are like, oh, Rashad Bateman's going to come in and be the best wide receiver right away. It's not going to happen. It takes time. He's still a rookie coming off a major core muscle injury surgery. Have patience if you're counting on that. And honestly, I don't count on it this season in total. Mark Andrews, feel fine starting him this week as well. The Ravens defense, it's the Broncos. The Broncos are banged up. They're not the best team in the world. I think they're playing kind of above their skill level. They've played against teams that are 0-10 record-wise as well, so I don't have a problem starting the Ravens defense in this one. Then on the Broncos side, we got Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be a sit for me this week. Ravens have allowed quite a bit of passing yards, but I just don't trust Teddy in this matchup. Melvin Gordon's going to be a sit. He has broken ribs, supposedly. So either he's not going to play or he's going to play with broken ribs, so not excited about that either way. Javonte Williams. If Melvin Gordon misses, Javonte Williams is a start. It's pretty simple. Cortland Sutton, he's going to be a start. Just temper your expectations with him going against Marlon Humphrey, who is one of the top 5 corners in the NFL. I do like Tim Patrick just a little bit more in this matchup. And side note, a little bit of a revenge game for Tim Patrick. He initially signed with the Baltimore Ravens as an undrafted free agent. So there is a little bit of a factor there. I love Tim Patrick. I love what he does on the field in general. Noah Fant, I think you can start him once again this week. Broncos defense, they're not anybody I'm looking at starting. Like I said, they played against only teams that are 0-10 so far this season. Then we go over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got Ben Roethlisberger. Did not look very good last week, even though he was chucking the ball 50 times for some reason. I get they were behind and everything, but that's not a good game script for him at this point in time with his age, so he's going to be a sit. Najee Harris, running back 1 last week. He's going to be a start, but just temper your expectations. He's not going to get 19 freaking targets again. It's just not going to happen. Chase Claypool is out in this one, so he's a sit. Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson both looking like they're going to play, so they're both going to be starts for me. Eric Ebron, Pat Freiermuth, both going to be sits. They're just splitting that tight end work so far this season. And then that Steelers defense against the Packers, you cannot recommend them at this point in time, so that is going to be a sit as well. Then we move over to the Packers side. So Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be a start. Aaron Jones is a start, and Devontae Adams. Those 3 all day, every week. A.J. Dillon, going to be a sit. Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard. If you're in desperate and you're in a pinch, you can throw one of these guys in since MVS is out, and he's likely to end up on the IR. We'll see how that situation all plays out. This would not surprise me if this is kind of Randall Cobb's kind of coming out game, especially going against Trey Norwood primarily in the slot. Robert Tonyan, not excited about him. We've seen the Steelers shut down tight ends on a regular basis. He doesn't get a lot of volume. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's worthless. So pretty much the same thing we say about Robert Tonyan every week. And so far this year, it's pretty much paid off except for 1 lucky touchdown against the Lions. Packers defense, you can play a pinch if you need to. They are still without Zadarius Smith. He is actually having back surgery on his back, so it's not going to get any better for the Packers defense anytime soon. Then we move over to the Sunday night football game. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady's going to start, pretty simple there. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. You can look at both these guys, kind of like low-end, flex play, running back 2s. Not super excited about them. If I was going to pick one, I'd pick Leonard Fournette because he's more likely to get the pass-catching work with Gio Bernard out in this game. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, start both of them. Antonio Brown, wide receiver 3, flex play if you need to go there. Definitely can start him as well, especially with Rob Gronkowski out now. And this one really surprised me, honestly, because Gronk is about as tough as nails as it gets. He's played through injuries before. And you really think he'd want to play for this revenge game, but the report is that he's not traveling to New England with the team. O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate going to fill in for him. Don't trust either one of them in fantasy at this point in time. If I was going to play one, it'd probably be Cameron Brate, but I don't want to play either one of them at this point in time. Tampa Bay defense, you can look at as a streaming option this week, but not anybody I'm super excited about. I think Mac Jones is going to have a decent enough game. I think Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are really going to have him prepared for this matchup in general. Then we have the Patriots. Mac Jones, he's going to be a sit. He's still rookie quarterback going against the, at least good pass rushing defense. Their defense really hasn't played good as a whole, mainly on the passing end. Damian Harris, he's going to be a sit for me. I know everybody's excited about him because James White's hurt. Maybe get some pass catching work. He's not going to get it. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And Ramondre Stevenson's going to be back. We've seen Brandon Bolden come in on when they were down big last week because he can pass protect. Damian Harris missed a block, got Mac Jones lit up, and he rode the bench the rest of the game because of that. If he's in the doghouse, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty against one of the best run defenses in all of football. And he's not getting the pass catching work. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's going to be literally useless in this game. Jacoby Myers, I like. You can start him as your wide receiver 3. Nelson Aguilar, boom bust, wide receiver 3, flex play in this matchup. He's a guy that I would feel comfortable starting if I need, if I was an underdog in a matchup. Then we have Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. Not really interested in starting either one of these two at this point in time. They could see a little bit more volume with James White missing, though. But for that single game DFS slate, go back to the point after last night. Check out our thoughts over there. I think both these guys are in play for that slate, though. Then the Patriots defense, not really interested in them against the Tampa Bay high-powered offense. Nick Folk is the kicker, but he's kind of banged up too, so we'll see how much kicking he actually does. You probably weren't starting Nick Folk anyways, but if you were, probably time to look for a different kicker. Then we get to Monday Night Football. We got the Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr. I feel like you can start Derek Carr once again. He's played very, very well so far this season. Chargers defense, yeah, they've been a little bit better, but they're still not that great this year, honestly. Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Peyton Barber, who had the crazy game last week. Not starting any of these guys. Don't feel comfortable. Supposedly, even if Josh Jacobs is healthy, John Gruden's planning on starting Peyton Barber. So maybe Peyton Barber's the guy to play, but we've seen him disappoint time and time again as well after a big game. So the only running back I know what his role in this backfield is Kenyon Drake, and I'm just not going there with any of these guys. Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, Bryan Edwards. You shouldn't have to start any of these three. If you do need to start them, I guess you can as a flex or a wide receiver 3, but you probably shouldn't need to do that. Darren Waller is a start. The Raiders defense is going to be a sit. Pretty simple there. And then last but not least, we got the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert is a start. Austin Eckler is a start. Keenan Allen's a start if he plays. He's been dealing with a knee injury, so we'll see if he ends up playing. If he doesn't play, then obviously he's a sit. Mike Williams is a start regardless. Jalen Guyton could move into flex play consideration if Keenan Allen misses. Talking, back on the point after, once again for last night, the single game DFS, Jalen Guyton's in play altogether, but if Keenan Allen's out, he becomes more attractive. Joshua Palmer, even KJ Hill. So check out my thoughts on that on the TNF network from the show from last night. Jared Cook, you could play him in a pinch if you need a tight end. I don't feel like he's the worst option in the world, but there's definitely better guys out there. But if you don't have one of those better guys, not a bad matchup by any means. And then Chargers defense, they're going to be a sit as well. The Raiders have actually been moving and scoring the ball quite well this year. But with that being said, these are the starts and sits for the 30 remaining teams to play yet this week. A little bit long-winded. Try to do this as best and concise as possible. Once again, if you guys have any questions at all, please leave them down in the comments below. Should I start player A? Should I start player B? Should I start 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 1 out of 4? Any questions you got, just leave them down below and be sure to leave that scoring format as well. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. It really helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your fantasy football teams, helping you with DFS, whether it's NFL or NBA. Talking some NFL news, there's been a lot of it. There's a lot of injuries going on right now. A lot of guys being called up from the practice squads for this week's game. A lot of guys that are going to be moving over to IR. Lots and lots of news, lots of stuff coming out there. I tried to mention as many of these injuries in the start sits as well this week. And with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber, be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up 6 videos a week. Monday is the top performers. Tuesday is the waiver wire video. Wednesday is starts and sits for Thursday Night Football. Thursday is looking at the Thursday Night Football showdown slate for DFS on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Friday is the Dollar Store Stack Series, where I look at the cheap DFS stacks for the main slate on Sundays. And then Saturday, obviously, is this video, the starts and sits for the remaining teams for the week. I feel like it's a great 6-pack of videos. Definitely enjoy putting them out. And with that being said, I definitely enjoy the input that you guys put in, the likes, the comments, everything that you guys do. I really do appreciate the support. And with that being said, I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.